G'day guys, I'm Ragnar. I'm going to explain raiding in this WoW guide for those who are new to the game or want to get into raiding. So what are raids? Raids are similar to dungeons, however, you have more than 5 people. Typically, you'll have somewhere between 10 and 30 people. They usually have a larger amount of bosses. Some raids are small with just a few bosses, but most raids are huge, ranging from 8 to 12 bosses. Raids usually have a higher difficulty and gear requirement compared to dungeons, so don't expect to jump straight into them as soon as you hit max level. You'll need to gear up a bit first and get good at your class. Also, raids usually take a few hours, so most guilds will have set nights with a few hours scheduled for raiding. For example, my guild raids every Thursday night from 6:30 PM to 10 PM. Most guilds will raid 2 nights a week with about 2 or 3 hours for each night. The reason why people do raids is it's because it has the best rewards, usually the top gear and gear sets. There are special achievements and mounts to get in each raid too. Also, they are a fun thing to do if you've got a big group of friends or a guild that enjoyed playing together. At first, most groups will find the raid challenging, even on the lowest difficulty. However, as everyone gets more familiar with the fights each time, as well as gear up over the weeks, they soon become easy and you can do the raid on higher difficulties for the better rewards. Raids currently have 4 difficulties, the easiest being Raid Finder. Raid Finder is similar to Dungeon Finder. You can queue for sections of raids, just like queuing for a normal dungeon. You'll be put into a group with a bunch of random people that have also queued as long as all the roles are met. Remember, you'll need to have the required level and gear before it'll let you queue, but those things are easy to achieve. The next difficulty above Raid Finder is Normal. This is the entry level difficulty for guild groups that raid. Normal is slightly harder than Raid Finder, as bosses have more health, do more damage, have more abilities and mechanics. Normal requires you to be in a group of at least 10 people and can scale up to 30. This makes it flexible, so if you have 17 people turn up for the raid will be scaled to suit 17 people, which is nice. The second hardest difficulty is Heroic. Again, Heroic is harder than Normal, mainly due to additional mechanics, health, and damage thrown in. It also requires at least 10 people and can scale up to 30 people, just like Normal. Heroic is the one with the harder achievements, but better rewards, like mounts if you can get all the achievements. Experienced raiding guilds would normally jump straight into Heroic if they find Normal a breeze. Entry level guilds normally get to Heroic once they can clear Normal with ease. The hardest difficulty, Mythic. Mythic raids are not for the faint of heart. They are there for the super hardcore groups. These raids will require blood, sweat, tears, and many weeks of pain to fully clear. Even the top guilds in the world, like Method and Limit, can take weeks to fully clear it from launch, and they usually race each other for world first Mythic raid clear. The current Mythic raid drops the top gear in the game, and a guaranteed mount at the final boss. Mythic raids require a group of 20 people, and that's it. It doesn't scale up or down like Normal and Heroic. You'll need 20 people. Guilds that do this normally have a roster or an application process, and you'll usually have to prove yourself to earn a spot on their Mythic raid team. Most raid guilds can tap into Mythic raiding, and they usually kill the first few bosses, but very few manage to fully clear it. Now I'll cover the roles in the raid. As you're aware, dungeons require 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 DPS. In raids though, you'll need 2 tanks, and a healer for every 3 to 4 DPS you have in the group. For example, in a 10-man group, you'd typically have 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 6 DPS. This isn't a set rule though. Some bosses may be easier with 3 healers and 5 DPS. Like dungeons, allow the tank to start the fight and gain aggro. Don't attack random things or you'll die. For the tanks, bosses will typically put a stacking debuff on the main tank, which will increase the tank's damage taken. When the stacks start getting too high, the off tank will taunt and start taking some stacks until the main tank stacks expire. For healers, they would usually focus the main tank that's got aggro and the stacks. They'll top up the rest of the raid mainly with passive and AoE heals, and only focus healing if someone gets dangerously low on health. Damage dealers focus the boss, and if additional mobs appear, the raid leader will tell the DPS to focus them and kill them fast before they become a problem. DPS are usually divided into melee and ranged groups. Sometimes the raid leader will organise groups into Group 1, Group 2, etc. To see the groups, open up your social window by pressing the O key and click on the Raid tab. Now I'll go over mechanics. Most bosses have mechanics, some are unique and some are generic. You must adhere to the mechanics as a group to be successful in raids. You can read boss mechanics in the adventure guide, click raids, then click the raid, then the boss. There are several in-depth guides for each raid boss on YouTube too. However, I don't do raid guides at this time. Check out Fatboss, Hazel, Dratnos, and Kalani. They're full-time WoW YouTubers that do a great job on endgame guides. Some common mechanics are, don't stand in the bad stuff. If you get a big debuff, you may need to run out of the group, and some debuffs you need to stack with the group. On dragon bosses, try stand at its side if you're DPS, and don't stand in front or behind the boss, as the front will cleave you and the back will tail swipe you. It may take your group a fair few tries to kill each boss if you're all new to the fight, so don't worry too much if your group dies a lot, it's normal. Best way to learn the fights is through trial, error and practice. Have patience guys. After you defeat a boss, make sure you loot it, or the chest that appears. You can also buy loot tokens called Seals of Fate. You buy them near the transmog vendor in Zandalar or Tiragard. You can buy 2 each week and hold a maximum of 5, so spend some if you have 5, otherwise hold them for the hardest content you can do. You'll see a window load with a roll and pass option. Clicking roll uses a token and gives you another drop from the boss. Usually it's just artifact power, but occasionally you'll get one of its loot drops. Think of it like having 2 chances of loot for 1 boss kill. Save them for the bosses that drop the gear that you want the most. After you defeat all raid bosses, you can try do them on a higher difficulty if your guild is keen, or join another group to do it. Otherwise, wait for the weekly reset, which will allow you to do the raid again on the same difficulty. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you now have a better idea of what raids are and what they're all about. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Also let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to cover. This is Ragnarok, and I'll see you in my next vid.